Never mind.
We're getting lost in Golden Gate Park. Okay, so today's video is all about our trip to San Francisco. We went to San Francisco for New Year's in December/January, and we actually go to San Francisco every year. Max is from the Bay Area originally, so he's got a bunch of friends there. I've got like a couple of friends there, I've got some family there. Just some people we try to see when we are in California for the holidays. We're both from California originally, which actually brings me to the other component of this video, which is gonna be just kind of like a reflection on like getting older, like entering our late 20s, and like how like I've kind of noticed some of my values shift that kind of informed our decision to move to San Francisco in the kind of near future. Definitely like a question mark on like when exactly that's gonna be, what the timeline is. It could be very soon, it could be up to a year off. Like we're still figuring that out, but I thought it might be nice to kind of make a video talking about some of the motivations behind our kind of decision to potentially move back to the West Coast and just kind of reflect on being older, slowing down. How I define like fun is different, so I don't know, I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to have a video talking about that, because I think that was like a shift I never really thought about in my early 20s. I don't know what I was thinking about in my early 20s. Anyway, this video is kind of going to be a reflection on like some of the things that have kind of shifted over the last several years, that it's kind of informing like our future thinking and decisions. Before I get into that though, I gotta introduce myself. My name's Mackenzie. This is my channel, Think Too Much. A lot of what I post are kind of like vlogs, either travel vlogs or just like day in the life vlogs based out of New York City, because I live in New York City full time. And yeah, it's just kind of a combination of like, you know, days in the life, travel vlogs, and kind of reflections on being in your mid to late 20s at this point. I'm 29 now, but I just turned 29, so I've still got a little bit of my 20s left. And yeah, it's been a journey, so thanks for watching. Hello. So today's video is not going to be the travel guide of San Francisco, because if I can be so frank with you, I don't want to do that. I just did that with our honeymoon, kind of, and even then it's like I just don't really love doing that, so I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, I'm gonna show you like pretty scenes from our trip to San Francisco. We were kind of doing like the residential thing because we wanted to get a sense of like what it might be like to live there. We were staying near Buena Vista Park. We were at like the top of the hill. We were actually between two parks, but we were closer to Buena Vista Park, so that was like a little bit brutal when it came to like walking back. So we just literally never did. We only ever took a car. It was kind of perfect, but it was also kind of imperfect. Like we were right in the center of all these cool little neighborhoods, but we were also like a little bit too far from everything. Like there wasn't like a little store around the corner. We were like up on the top of this really big hill, and we had access to this really cool park, but like not a ton of amenities. So that was my one complaint about the location, but otherwise it was a pretty great location. And yeah, we just kind of did a lot of exploring, like a lot of walking around. The weather was phenomenal. I miss California weather so much. so much. Especially like, it's like mid-February here for reference, so it's so cold. Winter is really wintering this year, unfortunately, in the Northeast, and we haven't had that for the last several years, and I haven't missed it either. And what I really like about San Francisco is there's this kind of this combination of nature and city. It's such a gorgeous city. San Francisco, it's like maybe you'll see skylines, maybe you'll see like the Golden Gate Bridge, but you also see like beautiful mountainscapes. This trip was like a little bit quieter. It was just the two of us, and like I said, just kind of like a little bit more residential vibes. We like hit up some wine bars, we hit up coffee places, went to Golden Gate Park, walked like all the way through Golden Gate Park. Just gorgeous park. And it's kind of incredible how much in nature you feel like you're in when you're in the middle of that park.
Well, I like kind of the idea of like an urban hike situation.
Camouflage. Is that a man or is it a mountain? you're not in the wilderness, but it's less planned, it's less kind of cultivated and landscaped. And I just really love California nature. I don't know if it's like a nostalgia thing or what, but those like trees with like the really aggressive strips of bark, those just like remind me of my childhood.
So what are we doing?
We're walking in Golden Gate Park. We've been doing that for the last several hours. Is that true? Right?
It's been a few hours, yeah.
And we're going to, did you say it was Mission Beach?
Yeah, I think that you're going the wrong way.
Which way are we supposed to go?
We're going the other way.
We want to go that way?
I think so.
That's where we just came from.
That's mine though.
We're getting lost in Golden Gate Park. I don't know, because at some point your map said to go right.
Okay, we're figuring it out. In Golden Gate Park.
Yes, we'll be at the beach soon.
Anyway, so it was a really lovely trip. I think the more we visit there, the more I kind of see our future there, if that makes sense. Like it feels like a little bit quieter, a little bit slower, but not like so slow. Like I think we are both really city people and that like we like the pace of New York for the most part. And we like kind of the accessibility and like just everything. It's like living in a place that feels alive. I think we really like that. And I think that's something we will continue to kind of crave in our surroundings. And I think San Francisco has just like started to feel like the slower version of that, and also a version of that that has more access to nature. And the idea that we would probably definitely have a car in San Francisco is sounding more and more appealing. Just like the ability to kind of get out of a place with like more ease than we have in New York. Like obviously public transit in New York is awesome, but it's not as good if you're trying to leave New York City. Okay, this is my interpretation of San Francisco hipster wear. Something tells me I got it wrong.
No.
But I like it.
I think you look good.
Thank you. I think this thinking kind of started around the time that we got engaged. I think it just was the first time and it was so weird. Like I just didn't expect this. And this is as someone who's pretty introspective, but it was kind of the first time I was like really regarding myself as an adult in like a serious way. And just like thinking about kind of the future and like, oh, like what, we're engaged, like we're about to be married. Like that's forcing me to grapple with kind of my age more than I even expected it to. And that's kind of forcing me to grapple with like my career path, where we live, like what we want our life to look like when we have kids, if we want kids, how many kids we want, like just like all of these questions which felt very far off suddenly seemed very like close. And like they were going to start requiring answers soon. So like I know I started thinking about just kind of like our lifestyles and what we might start wanting when those things inevitably shifted. And I think part of that too is just kind of like getting older, having like a different taste for like, you know, what a fun night out looks like. Like I don't want to be out as late. I don't want to like party as much. I don't want to kind of spend most of my weekend kind of focused on the evenings. I want to take advantage of like the daytime. And so I think with that, like naturally in New York City, it's like you have less access to daytime certain parts of the year, or it's kind of feels difficult to like leave the apartment without spending, you know, it's like you see all those jokes where it's like it feels hard to leave the apartment without spending like tons of money just unnecessarily. I think that's kind of where like the craving of nature kind of comes in, where it's like, it'd be really cool to have easy access to a beach. And it'd be really cool to just be able to kind of like walk out and like find like a park that I can like do a hike in. And like that can be my activity. I don't have to just go to the bar. I think like, you know, between things like that, between like sunshine, genuinely the sunshine is a big part. I think in San Francisco it feels like more of a possibility that we'd have some sort of yard and access to that yard. So like, you know, in New York it's like you leave your house and all of a sudden you're kind of faced with all the friction of city life. Like immediately you're kind of thrown into it, and that's part of what's wonderful about it. But wouldn't it be so cool to have like a private outdoor space where like I can just get some outdoor time without having to kind of interact with other humans? Because I don't always want to interact with other humans, you know? Like for the most part I do. I'm a city person, but like sometimes I don't, and sometimes those humans are crazy. Like if you live in New York, you know. But yeah, so I think for all of those reasons, San Francisco is starting to look just really appealing. So we're kind of getting serious about what that transition might look like. And
Max, can you tell the people what we did last night?
We ate some good food. We drank some good beer. and then we slept.
Where were we? We were on to Visadero.
We were on to Visadero for dinner and for drinks.
Yes.
We saw our friend in Noe Valley. And God, we were all over the city. We were at the beach, we were in the park.
Yeah, but they saw that, so.
They saw that. Okay, well, I'm sorry, viewers.
Oh my god, and one I haven't mentioned, but is genuinely so important, is our parents are on the West Coast. And it's so funny because as a kid, I guess it's just true that you just think of your parents as like living forever, or just kind of, I don't know, it's like you have such access to them that the idea of kind of leaving and like being away just felt very like not something I needed to think about too much. And now that I've been, you know, living on the East Coast for like 10 years now, it's like, oh, you know, I kind of miss my parents. Would kind of like to explore like more of my kind of adult relationship with them and kind of start to focus more on like family. And of course too, the kid thing comes in where it's like, okay, well, if we want to have kids, like, wouldn't it be really lovely if we had easy access to like their grandparents? It's kind of funny. I feel like a cliche, like I just finished the book Wellness, and I definitely never identified with the main characters in that book because they were always kind of more like edgy and like anti-establishment than I ever was. But I definitely kind of relate to this almost like shock at being the person that kind of slows down in the same way that everyone else does. I didn't necessarily think I would do it differently. I think I was just kind of surprised at how quickly I felt like that happened, or just like time moved very quickly. I kind of lived the part of my life in New York City, away from kind of family and like all that stuff. That time passed like a lot faster, I guess, than I thought it would, or life caught up to me more quickly than I thought it would. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, actually time is finite and I would like to see my parents more and not have to like travel 6 hours to see them and, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, so our trip to San Francisco was lovely. We had a lovely New Year's. San Francisco is like a gorgeous city. I'm a big fan. I mean, obviously we want to move there. And it gets an unfair rep, but as someone who goes there every year, I guess if you're considering a trip there, I assure you there are wonderful things to do. For the most part, there's just like a lot of cool cultural happenings and just like offerings in San Francisco, and I can't recommend it enough. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I know it wasn't much of a travel guide, but hopefully it at least offered inspiration for your trip to San Francisco. I'll have added all the geotags so you'll like see where we were. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.